Welcome to everything you need to know in order to do your first triathlon. In this video, I will share with you every single lesson that I've learned over the past 8 years that helped me not overcome my swim anxiety and become a competent swimmer, but to complete triathlons at different levels from a super sprint, to all the way to a half Ironman. So I'm gonna share everything you need to know for 2024 that will help you complete your first triathlon. So here we go. Number one question that I get is, can I do a triathlon? Well, the question is a good question because anybody can do a triathlon. You will find with a triathlon, it's not just people walking around ripped or super skinny. You'll find people that of all shapes, sizes, and ages. As a matter of fact, I've completed quite a few triathlons with people who are much larger than me. That in my mind, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, wow, I can't believe they completed a triathlon because they were overweight or because they were physically so much larger. I couldn't believe they could swim or, ride a bike for that period of time. So anybody can complete a triathlon, especially kids can complete triathlons as well. So don't get too caught up in the sizes and the ages. I think the oldest person to complete a triathlon is something like 85, 86 years old. So there's no limit to the opportunity that's out there to complete your first triathlon. Choosing your first triathlon is a matter of preference. You can either look at it whereas you want to get yourself into a certain level of shape, swimming, cycling, and running, and then say, hey, I want to do this particular triathlon. Or you can just say, hey, this is the triathlon I want to do, and does anyone have a plan so that I can complete this triathlon? What I like to tell people is very simply, number one, um, there's always outliers. There's always some guy, some lady that said, you know what, I jumped right in and done an Ironman. That's fine. Maybe they have a background swimming, maybe they have a huge background in distance running or cycling. My recommendation is start small, and to do a super sprint triathlon or a sprint triathlon. These particular triathlons have shorter swims, 250, 750 meters in the water, 6 to 12 miles bike rides, cycling rides, and are followed by 1 to 2 to 3.1 mile runs, which are very doable. I think the question is sometimes flawed when people say, "Can I do a triathlon?" I think the real question is how well do you want to do in a triathlon? If you just want to complete a triathlon, there's no doubt in my mind that you can complete a triathlon. If you want to compete, that means finish in the top 10 overall or in your age group. That's a different way of addressing the triathlon that you have to look at from a far different perspective. But check out this sheet I made for you. Really goes through exactly um, the different distances for triathlons. So the next question we get is, where do I find races? So in order to find a race, you go to usatriathlon.org and click on Get Racing. There will be a link there so you can find triathlons in your area based on the distance that you want to do, and just go from there. Sign up. Obviously, there's a fee. Cost of doing triathlons can range from as low as $50, as I've seen, to as high to $200 to $300 for your longer Ironman and half Ironman distances. So, how much training do you actually need to do in order to complete, not compete, just actually complete a triathlon? That is a great question. It's a question that goes through the minds of a lot of different athletes every year as they make their New Year's resolutions, or it's just a goal or a um, bucket list item that you want to get out of the way. Any way you look at it, I also always recommend that you train. Even if you're doing a shorter distance, a super sprint where there's only a 250-meter swim, there's only 6 mile bike ride, there's only 1 or 2 mile run. You still should take a month to a couple months to train, to swim and get in some distance, get used to swimming a longer distance, find ways to incorporate different drills so you can feel like you're in open water if you don't have open water and you're just swimming in a pool. A couple months so you can get some bike rides in, get used to riding a bike for longer than, a quarter mile or a half mile. Get used to riding 6 miles, 10 miles in order to get yourself acclimated to that type of distance. And running, obviously, you want to get out and get some runs in and get used to running a couple miles or 3 to 5 miles so that, again, you can get yourself acclimated, get your body prepared to race. Now, can you do it without any training? Yes. For about a lot of athletes, just graduating college, um, getting out of high school and going big, and they just sign up and they just get up one morning and do it. Does it happen and do they complete it? Yes. Do they fail? Yes. It's just a part of life. However, I don't recommend it because, especially with long distances, they can be very taxing on your body. And if you're not prepared for that race distance, you can find yourself needing a very extended and long time to recover. So I would recommend a shorter distance and just preparing for that shorter distance, giving yourself a month to 2 months to get acclimated to it, and then going out there and blowing it out the water. So I mentioned everyone should at least give themselves 1 to 2 months to prepare to do a triathlon. To help you out, I've actually created a 8-week training plan. If you just click the link below this video, it'll take you directly to that training plan, and you can apply that training plan 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, I apologize, 2 months before your race. It's designed for a super sprint triathlon. Obviously, that's the race distance I'm recommending to you. So that can definitely get you ready for it. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out at Lasimba at try720cheatcodes.com. So the question is, do you need a coach to complete a triathlon? The answer is that to that question is it depends. Are you just trying to complete a triathlon? Then you can use the free 8-week training plan that I linked to in this video. But if you're trying to compete, that means you're looking to finish top 10, top 20 overall, winning your age group, then yes, I do believe you need a coach. Otherwise, you can get a coach, but I don't think it's necessary. Can you do a triathlon if you're not a good swimmer? The answer to that question is yes. However, you do need to have certain skills as it relates to swimming. Number one, you need to be able to create propulsion with your hands, with your feet, with your arms. You need to be comfortable floating for long periods of time, whether you're on your stomach or you're on your back. And one survival skill that I believe everyone that does a triathlon should use is know how to roll over to your back and relax, then roll back over. There's usually boats, kayaks, jet skis on the course. Take advantage of those for rest time. You can rest on boats, but the boats or the jet skis or the kayaks can't move you forward. However, you can use them to rest. The last thing about being a strong swimmer is not everyone, strong swimming is just as much mental as it is physical. Therefore, I suggest everyone wears a wetsuit. Most, probably 90 to 95% of the triathlons out there are wetsuit legal. The only time a triathlon isn't wetsuit legal is if the water is too warm. And that doesn't happen too often. So most of the time they're wetsuit legal. So I always suggest you wear a wetsuit. Why wear a wetsuit? Because a wetsuit functions as a form of a life preserver for you, so that it keeps you buoyant. You can walk out into a wetsuit, and as soon as your feet isn't touching, you'll be floating, standing up. Um, that's the purpose of the wetsuit, is life preserving. You don't need a big orange uh, life preserver on. You just need a good wetsuit on from your wrists, cover your arms. Make sure it's thin enough so you can move your arms and you're functional in it. But essentially, you don't have to be a strong swimmer. You can use other aids like the boats, the kayaks, the jet skis, the wetsuits, um, to help you through the swim, as well as mentally knowing that when you get tired, you can just roll over on your back and catch your breath. Learning to swim for a triathlon, um, it's just like learning to swim in a pool. A lot of people will, I don't know if they're trying to scare you or just trying to prepare you, but anyway it goes, if you can swim 25 to 50 yards in a pool, you could do a triathlon. What you need to know how, or what you need to be prepared for as it comes to a triathlon, is the fact that there's no wall to rest. So you have to find other means to rest. And I mentioned before, you can always roll over on your back. Um, but to learn to swim for a triathlon, and the biggest issue is, for example, swim anxiety. If you have swim anxiety, and you're afraid of feeling weightless or putting your face in the water, any of those types of things, you can get over that now. You can use Try 720 cheat codes. If you follow the cheat codes instructions from beginning throughout it, you could be doing a triathlon in 90 days, seriously. It's a very gradual progression, but as you learn how to do the simple things of breathing and buoyancy and balance and body control individually, over time it'll build up and you will have enough skills to take it to the open water, because essentially you'll know how to save yourself. And I think that is the ultimate skill in swimming, is knowing what to do to save yourself. And that skill can be learned through Try 720 cheat codes. So you can just essentially just go through the cheat codes, get the skills you need, get the confidence you need, get the courage you need to go out, sign up for a triathlon, and get it done. When it comes to the gear that you need to do a triathlon, um, there's practice gear and there's triathlon gear. So, as it relates to the practice gear, you're obviously going to need swimsuit. You're going to need goggles. You're going to need a swim cap. You're going to need fins. You're going to need um, pool buoys. You're going to need wetsuits. You're going to need snorkels. These swim tools are there to help you become a better, stronger, more confident swimmer. For the actual triathlon itself, you're obviously, for the swim portion of it, just going to need your wetsuit and your goggles. For the bike, obviously you need a bike. I have like a $9,000 to $10,000 bike. You don't need a $9,000 to $10,000 bike in order to do a triathlon, but you do need a bike. If you're already doing some type of um, cycling, off-roading, you can use a dirt bike. You can use pretty much anything for a sprint or super sprint triathlon, because you're only talking about 6 to 12 miles. I would recommend you get at least a 10 or 11 speed bike. I would recommend spending maybe $1,000 to $2,000 on that bike, so you have a bike that's light, sturdy. Make sure you get a bike fitting. Make sure that bike fits your height, so that you can be comfortable on it for an extended period of time, both during practice, during the week, and at the triathlon. Um, you want a bike that you're comfortable on. Last but not least, I recommend two pair of running shoes. I think you should have a pair of practice running shoes. These are shoes that you really work and wear out, and then have a pair of shoes um, that you wear for triathlon that are not as broken in, but are broken in and are ready for you to race in or run in. But either case, whether you have one pair or two pair, the important thing is that the shoes that you're comfortable standing in, walking in, and running in. The last thing I'm gonna touch on is nutrition. Nutrition is a big part of a triathlon. It's a big part of the training as well because you have to learn how to fuel, which means eating the types of foods that are going to give you energy. And those foods are predominantly protein and carbohydrates. Protein can be found in eggs, carbohydrates, and bread. Just to speak from a simple standpoint, the information I'm giving you is what I use, which is non-dairy, non-GMO based foods, and advice to make sure that you have the energy you need to complete your workouts and to be ready when it's time to compete. To have the energy you need, not to compete, but to complete the triathlon. So the link is below. If you need anything, make sure you reach out. Assemble at try720cheatcodes.com. Make sure you like and subscribe to at Lasimba Patella on YouTube. And I look forward to helping you however I possibly can as it relates to doing triathlons, learning to swim open water, learning to swim, learning to get over your swim anxiety, or just improving your overall swim stroke. Look forward to talking to you. You take care.